At first glance, it looks like a polished CBS morning segment. Bright smiles, courteous small talk, and a set washed in the show's familiar orange and blue palette. But beneath the smooth open, friction is waiting. With each question, the room warms. Meghan's answers sharpen. Gayle's patience is tested. By the time the exchange goes off the rails, viewers are left wondering whether they just watched one of morning television's most combustible moments. The studio hums with the usual pre-show cadence. Floor staff slip past like shadows. Cameras glide into position. The giant screens glow. Gayle King, poised and unflappable, arranges her notes with the neat precision of someone who's done this 1,000 times. Her voice, calm, assured, grounds the broadcast. Across from her sits Meghan Markle, tailored navy blazer over a cream blouse, hair in soft waves. Her posture is tall, exacting, controlled. To a casual viewer, she's the picture of a polished guest, here to spotlight her latest philanthropic campaign. Meghan, thank you for joining us this morning, Gayle begins, warmth spreading across the set. You've been working on a new initiative, and our audience is eager to hear about it. Meghan returns the smile, measured, curated, like an expression perfected in a mirror. It's always a pleasure, Gayle, she replies, voice smooth as glass. This initiative is about bringing global attention to issues too often ignored, using my platform to elevate what truly matters. Gayle nods. That sounds meaningful. What personally inspired you to take this on? For a brief beat, Meghan softens. She speaks of compassion and change-making. The audience nods along, a quick burst of polite applause punctuating the moment. It's exactly the segment producers imagined. Uplifting, humanizing, hopeful. Then, Gayle pivots, her smile unchanged, her eyes turning precise. She leans in the way she does when she's about to step into deeper water. Meghan, she says evenly, you've often talked about your personal truth, but some question the consistency of parts of your story. For example, when you told Oprah that you and Harry had a private wedding before the official ceremony, the Archbishop later contradicted that. How do you reconcile the difference? The air shifts. Meghan's smile tightens, just slightly, but enough for viewers at home to catch. She adjusts her blazer cuff. Well, Gayle, she says, a cooler edge now in her tone, I find it telling how fixated people become on technicalities instead of the emotional reality. What Harry and I shared was sacred to us. If others want to nitpick details, that doesn't change our truth. Gayle gives a small, measured nod. I understand, but some would argue truth shouldn't be only personal, especially when shared on such a large stage. A faint, dismissive laugh escapes Meghan. With respect, Gayle, you weren't there. Neither was the Archbishop for every private moment. It's simple to comment from the outside. You didn't live it. A rustle moves through the audience, subtle but noticeable. The morning show pleasantries begin to peel away. Meghan's voice, a touch higher, carries a quiet superiority that draws the slightest furrow to Gayle's brow. Gayle stays steady. Fair point? Another example, you've said publicly you received no media training before entering royal life, yet palace staffers insist you had extensive briefings. Are they lying? The smile falls away. Meghan's eyes narrow a hair. Palace insiders, she repeats, a trace of disdain on the phrase. Anonymous voices who've built careers protecting an outdated institution. Forgive me for not validating their narratives. I lived it. I know the truth. The edge is back. Answers that don't so much engage as dismiss. Gayle inhales slowly, the picture of composure. She glances at the studio clock, plenty of show left, and weighs the risk she's sensing. The applause is gone now. Viewers later describe the moment as palpable, a sense something is about to give. Gayle adjusts a note card. She has more questions, the kind you can't sidestep. Meghan leans back, chin fractionally raised, body language daring Gayle to continue. The calm before the storm is over. The storm arrives. The lights feel hotter now. Meghan sits like a duchess on a dais, fingers laced, chin lifted just so. Gayle holds the practiced warmth, but there's steel beneath it. The segment has shifted from causes to accountability, and Gayle intends to keep her footing. So, Meghan, Gayle begins, voice soft but exact, In the Oprah interview, you described feeling isolated and unsupported during pregnancy. You've said you were denied mental health assistance. Some former palace staff insist resources were available. How do you respond? Meghan's eyes harden, a small smile fixed like a brooch. Gayle, it's easy to rewrite history when you didn't live my life. People love to speak with confidence about rooms they were never in. I was there. I carried the consequences. If others claim otherwise, perhaps they're more invested in protecting the monarchy than telling the truth. Honeyed tone, pointed blade. The humility is gone, replaced by cool condescension. Gayle nods politely and presses. I hear you. But when multiple accounts exist, people naturally want consistency. Meghan lets out a sharp, nearly theatrical laugh. Consistency? The only thing consistent has been the smear campaign against me. Lies, distortions, half-truths, for years. Expecting me to answer anonymous whispers is absurd. Perhaps those sources should spend less time briefing the press and more time reflecting on their failures. A low stir passes through the audience. These aren't the tidy PR replies people expect at breakfast. Meghan's words land like slaps, aimed at the questions themselves. Gayle's voice remains even. Understood. Let's pivot. You've said you stepped back from royal life seeking greater privacy, yet there have been books, documentaries, several high-profile interviews. How do you balance privacy with such a public presence? Meghan's smile turns frosty. Gayle, privacy doesn't mean silence. It means control over what we share. Refusing to be silenced by the palace or the media does not forfeit my right to privacy. Frankly, the framing is insulting. I don't owe explanations to critics who run on hypocrisy, a wave of uneasy murmurs. This is no longer a charity plug. It's a knife fight. Gayle tips her head, still measured. I'm not trying to insult you. I'm trying to understand the balance you're describing. Meghan strikes fast. Then perhaps try harder, Gayle. What you're implying, that my husband and I don't deserve to tell our story, is absurd. The fact I have to explain this at all shows how entrenched the bias remains. Gasps ripple. The arrogance is no longer implied. It's stated. Gayle's eyes flicker, her first visible crack. Hands folded, she keeps her tone steady. Viewers want clarity. These aren't merely palace critiques. They're questions people genuinely have. Meghan leans in, regal and unyielding. And perhaps the public should stop expecting me to spoon-feed every petty doubt. My life is not a public trial. I don't owe palace staff, critics, or even viewers an explanation for my choices. The sentence lands with a thud. The control room hovers over the commercial button and hesitates. Lightning is striking on live TV. Gayle adjusts her glasses, voice calm with a new edge. I respect that you feel you don't owe explanations. But when you make sweeping public statements that influence how millions view one of the world's oldest institutions, questions will follow. That's not bias. That's journalism. Meghan tilts her head, a small smirk rising. And I respect that you believe this is journalism, Gayle, but let's be honest, this isn't about truth. It's about entertainment. And if what you wanted was a spectacle, congratulations. You have it. The audience audibly gasps. Silence blankets the room. Gayle remains outwardly composed, but the fire in her eyes says she's had enough. She's interviewed presidents, survivors, world leaders. Rarely has anyone spoken to her like this on her set. We're here for an honest conversation, she says. Meghan crosses her arms, smirk unshaken. Then perhaps learn to ask honest questions instead of parroting palace spin. The insult hangs in the air. Gayle's composure holds. The storm swells. Viewers can feel it. People in the studio shift in their seats. Gayle King is nearing her limit. Meghan, oblivious to the temperature, keeps playing the untouchable Duchess. The rhythm turns jittery. Gayle's questions remain courteous and clear. Meghan's replies are sharp, dismissive, superior. It's a chess match where one player keeps sweeping pieces off the board. So, Meghan, Gayle says quietly, choosing each word, you've spoken about wanting to focus on service. What does service mean to you now, outside the monarchy? Meghan gives a small laugh, head shaking as if the question were beneath her. Gayle, it's obvious. Service is about impact, not titles, something I've said for years. The fact people still need me to define it shows how far behind society is. Arms crossed, chin lifted, her posture closes like a door. I hear you, Gayle replies. But some say your books, documentaries, and interviews seem more focused on telling your story than serving others. How do you answer that perception? The smirk returns. Perception is built on bias, Gayle. Those determined to see me as self-serving will never acknowledge my work. It's not my job to correct their ignorance. Another murmur from the audience. Meghan's replies now slap not only the interviewer, but anyone who questions her. Gayle stays smooth. Let's talk specifics. Your new project, how does it build on what you've done? Meghan flicks a hand as if swatting a fly. It's not about being different. It's about expanding the legacy I've already created. Frankly, these questions feel redundant. My record speaks for itself. A hush, then a soft gasp. She hasn't just